everybody, good morning. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, Quindy. With a teeny bit of Justin and John. Hi, everybody. Y'all missed my cool intro yesterday because, you know, Twitch freezing and everything. But, you know, it is what it is. So, I have allergies like crazy today, so you guys are gonna have to deal with a lot of Anne sneezing. Lots of Anne sneezing today. It's just really annoying. It's just like morning and evening when all stuff flies into the air. It's been so hot here, so there's so much dust and crap that goes into the air at the end of the day and the beginning. Ugh. Yeah, allergies from hell. For sure's. Hey, but we've got a wizard to paint, and we're gonna do orange today. So that's okay. So yeah, I'm just going to be sneezy. Don't worry about me. Let's see. So I like to use a darker orange. Just like with yellows, oranges benefit from starting dark and working light, guys. So you don't have to... yeah, I took mine and it's just... I know it's bad when it's just like... It's kind of working. So yeah. There'll just be a lot of nose blowing today. Just you know, be aware. Be aware, it's allergy Anne today. Woo! A superpower I do not like. Super, what do you call it? Do you call it a super detriment? Like, you know, we have like, obviously we have faults and virtues, you know, right? So if we've got superpowers, we should have like super detriments or something. Super flaws? I have no idea. What do you call the opposite, right? Like, they tend to just call them mutants, but that's not cool. That's not like, you know, parody. If you've got super this, you should have super that, just in the bad sense, so... Super flaws. It's one of my super flaws. There we go. There we go. Yeah, it's this summer just bad for allergies. For those of us who are summer allergy sufferers. I tend to also have a mold allergy, but yeah. Hey, Rex. Ugh. Alrighty. Excellent. So let us start, obviously, I made this color specifically for this purpose, by the way, the volcanic orange, because you do want to start darker with oranges, but I'm going to actually take it down even another notch. You could add in a blue to darken it down more muted, but I think I'm going to go pretty saturated with this guy, so I think I'm going to use magma red. I wish we had rain out here. Missing rain. Missing rain! Hashtag missing rain, and it was not summer rainy when I was home in Wisconsin, sadly. That's one of the things I do like when I get some summer rain when I go home to where the fam is. Other home. Home, not Cali home. All right, so let's pop some of this in here. Come on, come on. Oh, my bottles. They're just like, no, use the pokey tool. Yeah, sadly you can't ship it to us, Rax. I really love summer rain, actually. Like, other than the mold allergy. There we go. Now we got some paint. Had to really show it who was boss with the pokey tool that time. But, yeah, other than the mold allergy, I really love summer rain because I love warm rain. We typically only get cold rain out here. It's one of the only faults of the weather in this part of the country, in my opinion. The other thing we could add, if we wanted to build a shadow, is we could add something like Sticks Purple. Remember that you want to add complementaries. I'll be doing a whole PDF about this. Actually, I'm writing it this week. That's why I'm thinking about it so much. That's why I'm mentioning it so much. Because I'm writing it as we speak about creating new shadow colors by mixing in kind of counterintuitive colors, but colors that like color theory has been using and traditional painting have been using for a long time. So I'm just going to do a 4-to-1 there. It's going to darken the magma red's going to darken down that orange just a little bit more. I may find that I need a little bit more of a shadow. Obviously, I'm only thinning it about 4-to-1 because I want to. I may actually. There is a case for oranges for not thinning it at all. Just FYI. And another thing I can do. Actually, this may be a good idea. Windows, why are you giving me stupid notifications? Cute fox icon. Yeah. So the other color I would recommend if you want to do a fairly bright orange but you don't have coverage is using Oxide Red. This is something that Oxide Red is actually really, really good at. This is a Kickstarter color that just came out. So the oxides are they're muted colors because they're like earth pigments, but they are very, very high coverage. And even though they're muted, oxide red itself, you can see that it's more of a burnt orangey color. But if you just put 1 drop of it in there, what you'll get is you'll get more coverage and you won't shift the color that much at all. Not with 4 drops of orange already existing in here. So this is the best kept secret for making your oranges cover on the first coat. This is also why I say to use a yellow ochre or a yellow oxide in your yellows for your base. Because you can't beat the coverage. It's the most orangey pigment with high coverage. But it'll dull the color a little. You can see that dark dot there. So yes, it will dull your color, but think about it. This is the shadow layer, right? Because with light colors, I always start with the shadow. So you don't mind if your shadow's a little muted. It should be a little muted. Bright shadows tend to look a little bit weird. They can look really cool too if that's the style of the figure, but they can look weird. So as you can see that, I still have a really bright orange here. It really didn't dull the color very much at all. And now I can move forward with better coverage. In truth, if you use oxide red over white primer, it turns into a pretty vibrant orangey red. And I regularly have known painters to use it for, especially for a start to red hair, if they want a really, really flaming, like, orange-red beard, like on a dwarf. More sneezing. Allergies are rife this morning for everybody who is tuning in. So, sorry for that. I am just going to be a little sneezy today. I took an allergy pill, but it's just so there's just so very much stuff. So very much stuff in the air is getting me. The rest of me feels great. Like, the rest of me is, like, energized and, like, all, you know, like, gung-ho. That's how I can usually tell. Like, I don't really get colds, but when I did get colds, it always is, I get tired. Like, I could tell because I get tired. But I'm, like, bouncy today. It's just my nose won't stop. Stupid allergies. No love allergies. All right, now we have to make some decisions. Oh, noes. Oh, noes. We must now make decisions about color composition. And this guy has so many layers of cloth, so we're totally going to use a neutral in here somewhere. So, or even like maybe a dark blue. We'll see. We'll see. A dark blue could work because of the orange. So we've got so much. Because we've got, just looking at the front, he's got like this little sleeve in between. So if I'm just looking at big stuff, I have 2 colors here. So the hat is going to be like probably orange around the band and purple on top, I think. But after that, I have to decide whether to go orange or purple with this. And the answer is probably orange because I've got this black hair here. And if I go purple up against that black, it's not going to show as well. So the answer here is probably orange here and orange here. Then I have to stop and really ask myself and look at how many... God, he's got so many layers. It can be so challenging. The answer is usually to alternate as much as you can and then to throw another color in where necessary. In this case, because we're doing an orange and purple color scheme, we can really put in any other color that's a complement of those 2 colors. Either yellow, which is a complementary color to purple, or blue, which is a complementary color to orange. Both will work really well. The yellow, honestly, is probably going to show up because we're probably going to do some gold because he looks very fancy, so we know we like our gold. But if I do blue, I'm going to keep it very small because I really do want an orange and purple color scheme. I really don't want to throw another color. I don't want a 3-color color scheme on this model. I want 2 colors. And that means if I use a blue, it will not be bright and it'll be dark. So like this little area is a good candidate for that maybe. Because it would throw a color in and maybe even these little side things here. Like there's little side things, but you can barely see them. Which gives me room to go like purple with the body of the robe, orange here, Orange here. There's straps crossed across his chest. He's got all this detail that's really hard to see and hard to get into. But what I'm coming down to now is like orange, orange, and orange down the front. Purple for the sleeve, purple for the sleeve, purple for the bottom. And then these little interior things going with a blue. But again, I don't want the blue to be a main player in this color scheme, and so I'm probably going to keep it a little darker, unless I change my mind on that. You can always change your mind. But when you change your mind, make sure you're still working in constraints of your color scheme. So I'm going to be taking this orange lighter, obviously, because I'm starting with a very dark skin tone. So you can see how well this covers, by the way. Oh, no. Blorf. Blorf! Blorf, blorf, blorf. It's one of those days, guys. One of those days. But yes, hello, Kodiak. Welcome. So let's see. I might even put a drop of water in this. I don't remember if I put a drop of water in it already. I might not have. Yeah, total Blorf, Big Apple. So I would totally, at this point, this is a 6 drops of paint, so I'm only going to put 1 drop of water in, because even though we added the oxide red to make this cover better, you only want enough water to like keep it wet for a little longer. Because that's the other use for water and paint, right? It isn't just that you are thinning the paint so it comes off your brush smoother and it makes smoother coats. It's also that putting that water when you're using a well palette keeps your paint wet for longer. It just flat does. Thick paint is going to dry a lot faster. And if I want this to be super bright, I would put down white first. But as I said, for our base coat, since we're doing our shadow color first, it's okay to go a little muted. And to just block in. And I'm going to be blocking, I think I'm going to be blocking a lot of this to test the color composition that I have in mind. I do need to figure out what purple I'm using also. Oh, another nose blow. Pardon me. I think it's going to be Imperial. Oh, but I have to find it. Yeah, there we go. I think I want Imperial Purple on this one. Jeez. The allergies. The allergies. They're merciless. So let's see here. These look pretty good together. No, orange and purple Kodiak. Like when you're talking about a color scheme, like I really don't want to use the blue, but I will because I have to, because there's just too much. I could just go black with that, but in the interest of more interesting color schemes. But I don't like to put the blue in there because it's not going to be a main player. Like if I have my way, you'll hardly notice it. So I would say it's an orange and purple color scheme. If I have to, I would say it's an orange and purple color scheme. There's a small accent of blue. But I would not say orange, purple, and blue color scheme, like to me says equal amounts of those colors, because you can do that, right? You can do a 3-color scheme. But this is going to be a lot more like an orange, purple, and gold color scheme with just a tiny touch of blue. So, because I really have my heart set on that royal purple and orange. Like, I really want to do that kind of garish orange. Oh no, this is a mix, Agent Marvel. This is not oxide red. It's mostly volcanic orange. It's volcanic orange, 4 drops with 1 drop of magma red, and then I realized I could illustrate higher coverage, because you always reach for the oxides for higher coverage. And that's what people don't realize that this color can be used for, is that if you add 1 drop of it to your orange, it won't dim the orange very much, but it'll give you much better coverage. Especially if you're using it with a very close to it orange. These guys are pretty close. But no, oxide red you would notice would be not this bright of an orange. It would actually be more of a brownish color, especially over the gray of the bones. Over white, it turns very bright. But yeah, I'm still saying this is an orange and purple color scheme. I don't want to call it an orange, purple, blue color scheme because then people are going to be like, well, where's the blue? But it's only going to be in a couple of tiny places, so you're really not going to see it. I just wanted to do something other than black. Because normally, honestly, traditionally even, as far as my own painting, I prefer two color schemes with a lot of neutrals. Like, that's what I tend to do. I feel like a two color scheme gives the mini a stronger color identity. A three color scheme can easily turn into a 4 when you've got accent colors, and then you have a lot of color. I feel like two very strong colors, I think that sometimes some of the most effective color schemes are just that, and then you use neutrals to fill in everything else. Neutrals, different shades of neutral brown, cream, black, white, gray. So yeah, I tend to very much like the two color schemes. Well, and you guys should know that. I mean, usually it ends up with the gold as well, right? So I almost always have yellow in there and the gold. But if you think about it, I mean, the color scheme that we're working on with her is very much a two-color scheme plus gold. And so I feel like that's a very effective color scheme. Everything else on her is a neutral. Like the skin, the hair, the hair counts as, just white. It's a neutral. The boots are brown, the belt are brown, the pants are black. That's what I'm talking about with like a two-color scheme being a very effective color scheme. All right. So Imperial Purple is okay coverage. If I really want it to cover well, though, I'll add a touch of white to it. I'm going to try it and see. Let's use... I can use that brush for base coating. So I want a big purple. Yeah, it's actually covering just fine. So this is a 4-to-1 on Imperial Purple. Imperial does have a tiny touch of white in it already. It's not like a transparent like Monarch Purple, the color I really like, the 9239. But I think I actually want the rim on this to be purple too. This is a cool hat. I like this guy. He feels almost Arabian Nights, and I like it. So pup date for everybody. Tomorrow is the puppy x-ray. So we find out how many. I didn't ask Bridget what time of day. I'll need to ask her if I'll have the information for my stream or if I won't. So we'll get the underside of that rim. I will admit that I tend to like to separate colors from each other rather than having two strong colors right next to each other. I like to have a gold rim or some black or a hard shadow or something. And I probably will add like some lining between these two. But for now, I just want to black that in. And since the Imperial Purple is a fairly dark purple, I could probably just get away with it. Really, the point is that there's contrast between these two things. All right. Let's see. So a lot of the stuff I'm leaving gray is going to be gold. And I may just fill all that in. This may be a model where I actually base coat the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be parchment colored, right, Pendrake? So that's gonna mostly read as a neutral because cream colors read as neutrals. There may be touches of other colors in there, but usually it's more of a darker parchment color, like something like rich leather. My rich leather has disappeared. Oh no, it was, you know what color it is. A dark gold. I'm not sure where I put it. Or I could do shield brown. Oh, I know it. I know where I put it. I put it in the other room for my experiments later. But that's where also we'll have probably a little freehand on the scroll, right? And so the type of freehand that we do on the scroll is going to determine whether, how distracting it is or not. I mean, the nice thing is that the scroll is kind of end on, right? So you can't just look right. You're not looking directly at it except from an angle like this. So it's big, but it's actually not terrifically distracting from this angle. And that's kind of why I'm going with a lot of bright orange, because then the bright orange is going to be saturated enough to hold its own. So this isn't going to be as distracting because I'm going with brighter colors. If you were painting him a lot of dark or drab colors, then that scroll would surely stand out. Now, it is a focal point on the figure, which I think you even, or somebody else pointed out in a previous stream. He definitely is looking at it. It is the point of his gesture, like his gestures are focused on it, so it's an important thing. So having it be a central part of the figure and having it be like a giant swath of neutral, a light neutral at that, is not problematic greatly. But yeah, one moment. I kind of feel the allergies letting up a little bit. It's like morning, and then you guys know, usually halfway through the stream, my allergies have magically disappeared. Hello, Conaminis. We are talking about a lot of color composition, and I'm trying to fight off an allergy attack. Other than that, things are progressing as normal. All right, and for those who have joined the stream since I started, this is the model. It's Bones USA, which is made in Cyocast material, which means it has really excellent resolution. It's as good as metal. I am painting on the bare plastic for this. For most bones, actually all bones, I don't put a primer coat down. I find that if I just wash the figure in hot water and a bit of dish soap, that my paint adheres just fine. So we're going with a very punchy color scheme on this one. Yeah, it's this time of year, Kana. It's like mornings and evenings, and it's been so dry where I am. There's so much stuff in the air. Like the slightest breeze picks up a crap ton of stuff, and I can see the wind going outside right now. So yeah. Total feels with the allergies. Ugh. Alrighty, so orange, yay! And we're gonna, the bigger an area your bright colors take up, the brighter they are gonna look. So the fact that I'm choosing to do this on this big shoulder swath, and the reason we're doing this again is color composition, right? The hair is black. So, I mean, if I put purple here, the hair wouldn't show up as well against it. But by using my lighter of my two colors that I'm planning to focus on in this composition, for one thing, it's also more vibrant, right? So it's going to draw the face. All this orange is going to draw your eye right up there. And second, it's we're alternating light and dark, right? So light, dark, light. Because the orange, this is the shadow of the orange, so the orange is going to come up a lot lighter and brighter. And it's covering pretty well. But I am about a 6:1, and I did add in oxide red for additional coverage. So mostly this is orange. Some of it is oxide. And I cannot tell. I'm going to just assume that this is orange. This cloth collar he's got on. I don't see really a barrier. There's just the gemstone there. So when in doubt, guess. Yeah, my allergies were so bad last night I had to take a Benadryl. And that's rare. All right, so you can see how that lighter orange, even though it's going to be even lighter once I get the highlights on it, but it definitely like pulls your eye up and it frames his face, right? We can clearly see the details of the hair and the beard, and that's kind of the point. So then we could go with our darker purple on the sleeves here, and it'll be a nice counterpoint. One moment. Sneeze time again. Ah. It's almost done. I swear to God. I'm thinking positive here. Allergies attack. News at 10. Oh, all right. Oof, that feels better. All right. Let us put on the back. So this back here, we've got a bit of a disruptor, and we're going to have to figure out our colors for back here. Because we know, and for this cape in general, because it's he's got so many layers of cloth. That's part of why I chose this model, because you will run into minis like this where they have so many layers of cloth, and you're just like, oh my god, what color do I even make this? I've already like alternated, but now there's an odd color and it's up against both of them, and oh my gosh, what do I do? Right? There are a couple different options, and I think we might do something fun. Something I haven't done in a while. Which is to combine both colors in a pattern. You can sometimes get away with that. I did it on one of my, one of the Crusader miniatures a long time ago. I forget which one he is. I think he's the mage, the Crusader mage. And he's just like this. He's got a ton of overlaying, pieces of fabric. I also just noticed a mold line I missed. 1 second. We must tackle this mold line and eliminate it from existence. Luckily, it's really easy to pull that bit of mold line off. I just need to come at this from a slightly different angle. There. They can get little tails and fuzzies, but if you have a nice knife, you can usually pull those right off. There we go. Sweet. I'm pretty much gonna probably paint that a little bit earlier, Kana, because I can see that they're overlaying leather straps, and I can see that this is cloth. So this is kind of part of his tabard, I think. It's, you know, you got to kind of get in there and kind of decide what things are. And sometimes if you can't see it, you're just going to have to fudge it and guess. But I'll probably paint at least a base coat and a basic shadow this area. I do have really good sharp brushes, so otherwise I don't have a lot of problem. But understand that when a strap is really in shadow, like this little area right back here, you really don't have to do much more than a base coat and a liner, right? Because the light's not hitting it, so I don't really have to highlight that very much at all. Maybe I maybe hit this upper edge because I can see it, but yeah, it's you don't, for one thing, that's not an important part of the mini, right? Like, everything important is up here. So it doesn't really matter if we put a lot of attention in here on this leather strap. The top leather strap you can see, but you also can see it pretty clearly. So if you have a pretty sharp brush, highlighting that should be a no-brainer. Like, you should be able to do that pretty okay. Just hit a little bit of highlight on both sides of the strap after you base coat it. In here, it's really mucky, and I can't tell really what's going on there. Like, it may be part of this tabard is what I'm thinking. In which case, I'm just going to make sure I get my base color in there, shadow. I'm not going to worry about highlighting it because you can see that this overhangs it. You can see that it's in shadow if you just look at it right here. So you don't have to, you really shouldn't pay a lot of attention to undercut areas or hidden areas. For anything that's like actually an undercut, like the bottom of the cloak, I'm just going to paint it black or brown black. Usually I go with walnut brown, which is a really, really dark brown that Reaper makes that has excellent coverage. Yeah. But, I mean, it's not important, so you don't need to paint it. Like, you need to base coat it. You maybe need to line around it or put a shadow on it. But you shouldn't spend a lot of time on it because nobody's going to be looking at it. And especially for areas you want to go invisible, like the underside of capes, which typically have a lot of, like, dead area. Just painting that, like, a near black color is going to make people not look at it, which is exactly what you want. Yeah. Yeah, don't sweat it. Do not sweat it. Nobody cares about those areas. I think sculptors feel obligated to put detail in there because in the old days they didn't, right? And there were just these big blobs of like no detail area. But these days when they're using 3D sculpting, which Bobby Jackson definitely is. Hey, Sentimental. Hello. But yeah, these days when you're using 3D sculpting, you can definitely do that, right? You can zoom in and you can put a little detail in that area. And it's nice as long as we can kind of hit it, you know, as long as there's room to hit it. Here, I feel like I can highlight this okay. The one behind it is dubious, but this one's okay. Thank you for the raid, Sentimental. For those who don't know, Sentimental is one of my old friends from Reaper Paint Club when I used to run Paint Club at Reaper HQ. Back in the day when I worked and lived in Texas. Before I moved out here to the state that is currently trying to kill me with allergies. Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I never tried to remove the mold lines when the model's wet. I don't know what the theory behind that is. Because it's not like plastic gets more malleable when it's wet. Maybe you can see them better? I don't know. What's the theory behind that, Pendrake? Like, what's the actual reason? Do you know? Yeah, I have allergy attack today. Sentimental. Totally sniffly. Feel great otherwise, just totally sniffly. My sinuses are like, there is crap in the air, and we are dumping. Dumping ballast. We've all been through it. Except for the lucky people who don't have allergies, and I just don't want to hear from you. It's not true. You can speak up if you don't have allergies. If you're one of those lucky people, we will all envy you. I've had allergies since I was 10 years old. Like, honestly, they kicked in at 10. I remember when I first started having them. So today's going to be another scorcher, guys. It hit 101 here yesterday in a town that does not have air conditioning. Because they don't normally need it. So this is kind of the worst it gets for us with no AC in this house. And today's supposed to be in the 90s. Alrighty. Oh, I still see that mold line. I still see a tiny bit. Grrr! Yeah, see? I don't believe in tips unless you tell me why. Like, if you can give me a reason, like why that would be a thing. Stupid air. It's the stupid stuff in the air. But yeah, see, that's the thing. I always question these tips. These tips. Because I think that if you're going to give somebody a tip, you should tell them why. But that's just me, right? I'm totally telling you guys the why, always. And when I tell you something, I explain why. That's kind of what I do. So, like, if it works, like, that's cool and all. Yeah, it's definitely going a little fuzzy here on the bottom. Definitely a little fuzzy right on this detail. But yeah, I just like to know the why. Like, I'm like, why would that work? And sometimes it's just that it's just that they've experienced it and they're not sure why it works, but it does work, and that's fair. Yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because all the dust, right? It probably increased your sensitivity to it, Marvel. Oh, he was using diamond files. Okay, so that makes sense. That makes sense, because filing would make sense, because it produces those micro bits, right? So maybe I could see, just like you would use, just like when you're drilling in some surfaces, you use water to lubricate. Although it's different than that, it's heat, right? But this is more like kind of plasticky. Oh, yeah. Allergic to Florida. Yeah, that's what I'm allergic to my home state of Wisconsin, Kana. Totally. It's a good thing I have a box of Kleenex and a wastebasket. That's all I'm saying. And a patient audience. I keep hoping they'll let up. They let up a little bit there. Usually later in the day, they dull out. All right, so let's go and put in some of our purple. Yeah, and I recently went back to Wisconsin for my niece's graduation, like the end of last week and the weekend, and I'm still allergic to the entire state, as far as I can tell. All right, so sleeves will go purple. And one of the reasons I'm going purple with the sleeves here is because I know the scroll's going to be light, right? So if I'm putting a dark right up against the scroll. Everywhere, you don't have to be like super solid on this. You don't have to do it 100%. But if you can make an attempt to put really light colors and like dark colors, mid colors, and light colors kind of alternating on the mini, you will... Essentially, you get a boost in contrast. So then it makes it easier for everybody to see your stuff. Like, to see where stuff is. So because this guy has so many overlapping layers, I'm just going to go pretty cautiously. And I'm going to start at one end and I'm going to work my way across. And I'm going to always be concentrating on alternate colors, alternate lights and darks, lights, mids, and darks, technically. But on this, the purple will be dark, the gold will be mid, and the orange will be light. And to be fair, the NMM gold is going to range, right? It's gonna go one way and another way. It's going to go back and forth because it's going to have really dark darks and it's going to have really light lights. But the mid ground of gold is still that medium golden brown color. Oh, mold, yeah. Yeah, it's Reaper Volcanic Orange with a drop of Magma Red because I wanted it to take it a little bit darker. And then for coverage on the orange, we're adding Oxide Red, which is a pure pigment. And we added the Oxide because of coverage, since obviously it's the red oxide pigment, and those oxides are really high coverage. You can add them to the orange and not really change the color much, still get a pretty bright orange, but you'll get better coverage, which on orange is great. Yeah, it was pretty much made to be a base coat for oranges, that volcanic orange color. I tried hard to give it some extra coverage, and I like to start a little darker with my oranges, so same with yellow. All right, so now we're to the point where I'm like thinking about that blue, because you've got a little bit of it showing through here. It's kind of a backdrop back here. It's probably what this bit of cloth is right here before it hits the tabard. And it's over here. So if I'm going to use the blue, I have to figure it out now. And I might using a blue-black would be a good one. Maybe Nightmare. And again, I'm going to have some yellow on here anyway. Like, that'll be complementary to the purple, right? Because it's going to be gold for edging. But complementary to the orange is blue. And Nightmare Black is actually not really a black. You can see how blue it is in there in the bottle. It looks like a black. If you put it on straight up and you just like have it as a base coat, it will look black if you don't have any real pure black on the model. But it highlights up blue. And you can highlight it with other blues to accentuate that. So here, I am essentially doubling down on the dark. Mostly because these are such small areas that I really don't want them to be super bright. Like, I really don't need, like, a lot of color. I'm not trying to attract attention to them. They're really just filler. So going with a really dark color means those areas are going to kind of disappear, and that's what I want. Also, I haven't used a black or near black color except for his hair and his skin. So I can introduce that down here. It will also work well with all this other stuff on top of it, because like the scrolls here are going to be really light. So putting a very dark color behind them is going to help to make those stand out. But yeah, mostly I don't want to accentuate or make the blue a major player in this color scheme either, which is another reason to use a really, really dark blue. So, and Nightmare straight up really does look black. Like, that's the reason we call it Nightmare Black. But when you thin it, you can see that it's got a huge amount of blue pigment. It's really almost a Prussian blue. It's hiding, but it's a Prussian blue. So that's so that's kind of our colors right there. And I do love Nightmare. I haven't used it for a while. And I don't think we've ever used Volcanic Orange on stream. So there, we've got it. We're playing with new colors, guys. New colors. Well, old new colors. Except for the Oxide Red. That's actually a new color. All right, gonna throw away a drop of water in there because my ratios are 4-to-1 almost always for base coats. Almost always. Hey, Quindy, it's Alpaca Day, right? We have Luca on after this. Yep, I remembered. This time I remembered that we must give way before the herd of alpacas. It's promptly at 11. I'll probably be relieved because this allergy stuff is getting me down. All right. So let's test. We're going to test in this area. And because it's fairly far away from the black up here, it may actually look very close to black. Hello, Karoo. Long time no see. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. It's kind of annoying to be like constantly sniffling and blowing my nose, Squinty. It's just not awesome. The weather needs to change. It needs to cool down. Yeah, so if you look at it, the Nightmare Black, you can see that they're different. But especially because I used kind of a bluish black to highlight the hair, you can't see a total huge difference in them, right? So this will go with this color scheme just fine. It's going to kind of sit there. It's going to kind of be its own thing, but it's going to be small and dark. And so making something small and dark essentially makes it disappear. So if you've got areas that you're just like, what the heck am I going to do with this? Consider if it's not important or if there are light objects overlaying it to make it small and dark. It's going to make it just poof, it's gone. Nobody will care. Everybody will look at the rest of your awesome model. Trying to decide what that is. It looks like it might be actually the remnants of like a 3D print thing that wasn't taken off. There's a little bit there, and I'm annoyed at it. So I think I'm going to wrestle with it. It's like, darn it, somebody missed a print support. So I'm going to use a clippers, I think, first, and see if I can get in there. Sometimes when the, oh, where are my clippers? Oh, no, clippers, where'd you go? Oh, there they are. Woo. So sometimes when you can get in at an angle, you can at least get a little bit, but this might be too shallow. Yeah, and I can't get in sideways at all. It's going to have to be the knife. Yeah, no, it is, Kana. That's why I am. Hey, Lady Nim. That's why I haven't taken up 3D printing. It's like the thought of cleaning off all those print supports before I can paint the model, like, just drives me nutsers. Like, oh my gosh. And it also, both me and my fiance are mini painters, and we're both kind of like, well, it would be kind of nice, but then we both think of the cleanup, and we're just like, maybe not. Maybe we'll just keep buying our models from other people who print them. There we go. So not too bad, just doing kind of a sideways scrape, just gently. That actually took that right off. And now maybe I could bring in a diamond file and burnish it a little bit, but I think it's pretty, yeah, I can see a little bit of it. Yeah. They snap off just fine. Once you have your settings dialed in. Yeah, see, I'm a total noob. I have a bunch of people on my Patreon who, like, are totally into it, and so I gave them their own channel to talk about 3D printing. Because it is interesting. And I like to go over there and read it and, like, totally be like, I have no idea. There we go. That's a little better. But since we're making that area really dark, it doesn't have to be super smooth like our finish on it. Let's see here. Sadly, well, no, these are pretty okay diamond files. Let's see if this will... I don't think I'll use a flat, though. I think I want to kind of burnish... So many worse things to deal with. Okay, thanks, Kana. You've convinced me once again that I don't want to buy a 3D printer. Oh, I'll leave that to all my friends. I'll just have to buy licenses so that I can get them to print them for me. I have so many people who really love their printers that I know. So just using kind of the side of the tip to burnish it this area. I think that's actually... That's pretty good. Sweet! Yay for mini diamond files. Ugh. stupid dust and mold and crap and tree mung. Mostly it's the tree mung. The trees attack me. The sunspot activity. Yeah, exactly. Murphy, yeah. Yeah. It does sound like that. It does sound like right now it's like an esoteric, and I will admit, we, as a hobbyist, as a miniatures person, I totally get the obsession, okay? I totally do. It's just that I already have so many obsessions that I don't need anymore. Especially with a new puppy coming, guys. The deep dive into puppy, relearning is gonna be real. I was texting with Bridget this morning, and she was referring me to to a cool canine behaviorist that she knows of who has video content. So I am gonna be. This is it. We're gonna have the goodest girl. This puppy, and by saying that, I've completely doomed myself, right? Because this puppy is gonna be a hellion. You know it, right? Oh yeah. Yeah, Kana. That's kind of what I've come to understand from talking to and reading my my Discord channel for it. Is that it's a lot of dialing in and learning your settings and learning the particulars of your printer. And out here, in addition, I'm in the Bay Area. We get micro earthquake tremors all the time. I cannot believe that would be a good thing for 3D printing. Not since I would want to do stuff on, super fine detail, because I want to do competition level models usually. So as you can see, just painting that area dark again, just totally retreats. You just don't see it, but it helps to bring these scrolls out really nicely. So use your dark neutrals, guys. Use your dark neutrals, your near blacks, your dark browns, your brown blacks, and your pure blacks. Use those strategically. To kind of use on very small areas that aren't that important, just to make sure that they go away. And there's just a little bit of it showing here. And now here it does have it has a gold rim on both sides, so. But I can kind of pop this into the cracks, this dark blue. It's blue-black. Yeah, it's getting better and better, right, Kana? And as the technology, I kind of was waiting. I kind of thought, well, at some point, I'm probably going to give in and get into this hobby. Because 3D printing seems to be really cool. It's just right now, I want to wait until the, kind of the user friendliness of the UI and the settings and until the hobby has that dialed in. Until they're so easy to use that even I cannot screw it up. Your settings are good enough, yep. Yeah, so I'm kind of waiting. I don't actually believe in harnesses, lady. I tend to train them, I tend to train them from earlier to walk next to me by, keeping kind of my bags of treat on that hip. And working with them just for short distances. With Leo, I taught him essentially to circle around. So when he would walk, because they're big dogs, right? So when they walk a little bit ahead of me, if they get a little bit too far, I'll be circle around or whatever command I was using. And he would just circle around me and go back right to my hip. So I actually have not had a pulling problem with any of my dogs, which is good because they were all between 80 and 100 pounds, right? But I find, especially with my shoulder and my back these days, I really can't do it if they pull. And I've seen people have really mixed results with harnesses. Some people seem to have a really good review on them. I can see the mesh chest being a little bit more amenable to that sort of thing. But personally, I tend to try to train from a very young age when they're still small enough. But it does take a lot of time, so I know a lot of people don't have a lot of extra time to to go put into that. Or some people, you know, I personally didn't feel I would have the patience, but I surprised myself. So we'll see. I just know this puppy's going to be Doom, though. It's going to be Doom on 4 paws. But yeah, I know one of the harnesses, actually, that I saw, one of my friends, he walks with a cane. And he got one of our dogs. And he had success with a harness that had a clip on the front, so that when she pulled, her back end swung around. Like she couldn't get any purchase on it. So that worked actually really well. She ended up being his service dog. She didn't start out like that, but it got that way, which was pretty cool. All right, so we've got our blues blocked in. I think I need to get a little bit more near the chest there. Yeah, I think it's an easy walk. I don't know. I mean, is that the one that clips on the front of the chest? But yeah, I've just been going for training. Yeah, we're naming her Cerberus, exactly. Looking at you guys. Oh, you're 3D printing. Yep. Too weird. Not part of my color scheme idea, Pendrake. I mean, you could do it. The problem with metallic gold lettering is you'd really want to go with NMM on that. You wouldn't want to go with metallics. Because metallics, remember, are going to, like, change as the light hits them. So you won't be able to see your lettering at certain angles. So that would be kind of a disappointment. Yeah. Yeah, the leash clip. And Jared had to do that just because he was, like I said, he walks with a cane. And Astra's still an 85-pound dog. And a bouncy one at that when she was a pupper. So yeah, that worked for him. But for me, I've always liked to just have control without just relying on the equipment. But yeah, what works for you works for you. Like, and every dog is different. Just like every human is different, every dog is different. So the relationship between you and how you interact with your pupper, it's going to be different for different duos, right? Alrighty. Like, I could be making all these plans to train my pup with treats, and then she might turn out not to be food motivated. All right, so there again, there was a little piece of cloth in there that I really just needed not to be there. And I just painted it that nightmare black, and it just disappears. There's a belt. There's a pommel. This is another piece of cloth, I think. For these interior areas, you can see that I don't care that I'm messing up, by the way, onto the cape. That's why I'm doing the interior areas first. This is called painting from the inside out. I tend to do a version of this on my models. I don't stick to it like as religiously as some people do. I'm going to thin that down and kind of blend it in. But it's the same theory that makes you start with the skin and work out. And the reason you do it is because then you can mess up onto the surrounding areas because you don't have any paint on them. So you've got no skin in the game yet. You can blob in that area with the dark, which you know you're not going to really highlight because it's in shadow. And after you've blobbed it in and messed up the stuff around it, you're just going to paint over that stuff anyway. So it works just fine to do that in these situations. Also, Pendrake, think about your color composition on that, though. The real reason that making the scroll blue black is a bad idea is that, remember what I just said about this color. It makes things disappear. So we already established that this is one of the focal points of the figure, and he's looking at it. So you want your viewer to look at it too, right? You want your viewer to be able to see it. And if you're going to do that, painting it dark sends exactly the wrong message. Exactly the opposite message of what you want. When you want a viewer to look at something, you want to make it bright or light, and you want it like to be up in that area, like really visible. So if you paint it blue-black, you're taking the thing that you want to tell the viewer to look at, and then you're telling them not to look at it. And worse than that, if you're using metallic gold for lettering, it like the screen, like Kana just said, the metallic paint, from certain angles, you won't see it at all. So like from this angle, you probably wouldn't even see your lettering. It would just disappear. It'd be really hard to make it stand out. If you're going to do metallic like lettering on something dark, use NMM. You can control the highlights and the shadows and the level of degree of lightness and contrast so much better. But remember that this isn't a color element. Super HD scroll would never be blue-black. It would be disintegrated. It'd be brown. Like only a magical scroll would like turn that color. But the problem with that too, look at this, Pendrake. I'm going to make the scroll blue-black and his skin is so dark, you aren't going to be able to see the hands anymore. So remember, we're also alternating light and dark to make things stand out, right? Plus we've got this purple deck here. So essentially it's going to invisible all of this, which is not a very effective use of light and dark. So don't just think, and also never, I don't want to say never, because there's never a never, right? This is always just do what's best for you. But when you use a neutral, like the beard and the hands, when you're using black and dark brown, you really don't have to repeat those colors. You're not looking for color harmony at that point. Those colors are going to harmonize with everything because they're neutrals. So it's not really important to repeat them. And if you're going to repeat them, you want to repeat them on something you want to kind of invisible. So like this pouch. We don't care about the pouch really. Yeah, that's true. Obsidian. If it was an obsidian tile. Yeah, Kana. Yeah, you're right. That would be a good place to put that. So if we based him out and we did that sort of like black tile and we decided to do the obsidian with the glowing runes, which would be pretty cool. Maybe I'll do that, actually, now that you brought that out. I do play WoW. I have played since day one. I'm kind of taking a hiatus right now, but I'll be back for the new expansion. My fiance still plays and raids. But yeah, I like that idea of the obsidian base. That would be pretty cool. And you're right. At that point, then you would be drawing kind of like a parody thing. But it wouldn't bother me as much because I always paint the edges of my bases black anyway. So doing a black stone base would work because for me, it would just be framing the bright colors on the mini. Oh yeah, the Odom Zone. Yep. Yeah, for sure. For older scrolls, I tend to really like to just accentuate the foxing and the age marks on the parchment. We have still, I think we do. I've got one here somewhere, but I don't know if I took it really dark. Yeah, he's pretty dark. So the last time we did something like that was this. On Darius the Blue. And I did darken down the edges, and I did bring in some stippling, although it's hard to see. So, yeah, I went back to Classic, promptly realized I could get re-addicted and stopped playing. So yeah, so this is like, for me, this is pretty old book. If I wanted to go even older, I would even darken more of the edges, but I'd keep the center of the pages a little bit creamy like I have here. So, yeah, I saw that, Kana. That actually made me completely say no. Like, Dungeon Finder is like the biggest increase of quality of life. Agree. Yeah, he's actually, since his familiar's a rat, he's trying to expel the cat. But I think the rat and the cat are secretly friends because the rat does not. Either the rat is like saying, hey, wait, dude, you're not getting it. Or the rat is saying, you did not do that fast enough. I haven't decided, but. Oh, yeah. Doing minis for a couple of years. Well, good for you, crew. There's always going to be something that makes sense to you, right? It's not always going to be the same thing as other people. The best thing you can do is run around and learn from everybody, and some teachers will really resonate with you, and you'll be like, yes, that. Oh, I need to throw some water into my orange paint. It is warm in here, even though it doesn't feel that warm. So my paint definitely wants to evaporate a bit. No, actually I wanted to pair the that model with the cat, the dragon cat in the Christmas tree. I still may. I have the cat in the Christmas tree model. In which case it was you did not act fast enough. So why didn't you do that, you know, like 2 weeks ago? Why didn't you get this cat out of our lives earlier? That kind of thing. All right, let us get more orange blocked in. So some of this back here is going to be orange behind the scroll. I can't tell, although part of it honestly looks like a strap for this bag. Like, sometimes you just have to make a guess, guys. Like, sometimes you just have to make a guess. So you can kind of see that strap coming down. But you've got this, and it looks like there's texture there. I think I'm just going to put a little bit of orange in there and leave it pretty dark. I'll probably even put a little more shading on it, because I don't really want to draw attention to that area, but having a little bit of orange is going to be okay. Yeah, they're hoping that Dragonflight is like another Pandaria, where it's very sandboxy. I would enjoy that. I liked Pandaria. All right, a little bit of orange. Afternoon, Valandar. But yeah, I like my WoW. I can't get into raiding anymore. Both because, like, back issues and just too much time. But David enjoys it, so he enjoys it. I'll caveat that he enjoys it as long as they're progressing. If they aren't making progress, then he's like, why am I spending 6 hours of my life on this every week? But yeah, so I think this scroll, I don't know if this scroll is going to be terribly old. I think I'll age the edges a bit. But other than that, I kind of feel like this scroll's going to stay fresh. I don't know. Yeah, Talent Tree's coming back. Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of my problem with it. It's just too much of a time sink. I have so many things going on now. Between my painting and my writing and my Patreon and my new puppy coming in 2 months, and I'm going to be really busy. So we're getting this orange. We're really starting to feel like how orange this model is now. Pretty good color balance. Oh, I wanted to make those purple. Oops, I totally screwed that up. Woohoo! And thank you, Quindy, for the link. I do have a Patreon, folks. I do a lot of PDFs on there, which of course are things you cannot do on Twitch. And video as well. More focused video where we don't always talk about, like, WoW, puppies, and food. And occasionally knitting. Alrighty. Yeah, I totally forgot that I was going to make that purple and that orange. Oh, noes! Well, we'll have to change it. So instead, we'll paint everything orange, and then I'll go back and put the purple over the top. So what I meant to do... Although maybe my brain... No, my brain was working in the correct direction. I was going to say, maybe my brain knew better than me. But no. I do need to go orange down the front and purple on the sides. Because I don't want too much orange down here. Can you tell me why? Color composition. We don't want a lot of light bright down here. It totally distracts the eye. So we're going to go back and paint over this orange that I just mispainted with purple. Yep. Yeah, I realized that I was doing that the minute I backed out, actually, War Shadow, because that showed me that there was too much orange. So, however, what I think I'm going to do is actually paint over the top of that. If I put the purple over the orange, it's going to dull down the purple. So what I'm going to do is actually put a light gray over the top first. I don't even know the reference, Karu. I don't do a lot of media. I spend a lot of time creating media and not a lot of time consuming it. Oh, Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, I was tempted by Kung Fu Panda. I was tempted to watch it. I never got around to it. Stupid allergies. Stop it. Stop attacking me. All right. I need to mix that up. So yeah, so when you put one color over another different color, especially when they're kind of opposite on the color wheel, which orange and purple, you know, are very close to opposites, you can really get a dull color, and I want that purple to be bright. Oh, scroll was a mirror. Yeah, I wouldn't want to try that. Like, you'd have to paint it, like, from this angle. And his head is tilted up, so you wouldn't really see his face reflected in it. Yeah, I don't know. Reflections are tricky. You might think it's a good idea to try to do a mirror reflection until you actually try it. Most times, I think they're just not suitable. Sometimes a model will be carrying a mirror, and then you kind of have to. All right, so let's do a quick base. And this is Misty Gray, 9090. Oh no, I got a little bit of orange in it. But I want to put this down before I try to put purple over the top, because I want my purple to still be pretty vibrant. And putting it over that orange would make it go pretty dark. Not as bright. If I get a little bit of orange mixed in, it's not a huge deal breaker. It's the receipt of any store that, like, gives you way too much receipt. So much receipt. Haven't they realized yet that all those things they put on the receipts just don't work because nobody looks at them? The other scrolls are just coupons. I'm actually going to drop some water onto that. Paint got a little thick there. And if your paint gets a little thick and you notice brush strokes, so your paint is still wet, you can fix that by just dropping some water on there and pulling it off. But it'll have disrupted those brush strokes so you don't end up with texture. That's my fault for trying to go really fast and cover over this. There. Let that dry for a second. Other side is drying really fast. While I'm doing that, I'm going to line around the edge of that thing with... Oh, and I've got a hair on my brush that I need to take off. And then put a dark line in there. I always put a dark lining. We haven't done any lining on this model up to now because we've been trying to block in and get our color composition figured out. Oh, now my brush isn't showing the hair splitting off anymore. Nope, no hair surgery today. It was a false alarm. He is a magician. It could be a never-ending scroll. Maybe he just whipped it out of his sleeve. The IKEA instructions for the Keepies building. That's actually pretty good. That could explain why he's frowning. He obviously is not liking what he is reading on that scroll. That would be a tempting thing to do, is to put a diagram. I'd have to look at some IKEA furniture put together instructions. Except you always have to question yourself. You think it's a great idea, but you really have to look at the amount of space you've got. Here I could see we could do two main things. We probably have room to do like two main shapes or blocks of text as far as pictures. I think fitting like more than that in there is going to make it very hard to read. Blank of instructions. Yeah, I think the lighthouse could be a pretty cool wizard's keep. Especially if you're playing in like a port city. Or you're going to an ancient ruin that used to be a port city. All right, so again, just using that trick that I just mentioned earlier, just putting that blue-black down there makes that really disappear. Nobody's going to look at it. Nobody has to look at it. You're sending a message to your viewer, hey, this isn't important, so don't waste a lot of time looking at it. It's very effective. Hey, Neo Show, thank you. 34 months, wow. I think simplified Escher doesn't exist. Pendrake. And if I was gonna like duplicate an artist, it wouldn't be Escher. There are artists I like more. So again, that underside of there is a rim under that. So you add that dark shadow, and it helps to separate out your areas, and then it also sends a message: don't look at this; it's not important. There. Ugh. Hang on, sinuses. We're almost to the end of the stream. Seriously. Haven't had it this terrible for a long time. Just to bug Ron. Did Ron not like the lighthouse? Was the lighthouse conceived because Ron Hawkins did not want a lighthouse? Well, I'm double glad I ordered it. Oh, allergies are just killing me today, Bill. It's been really, really hot and dry here. There's so much stuff in the air. I feel great otherwise, but it's like my nose will not stop. We had a hotter day than I think I've ever had here in this area. We had 101 degrees yesterday, so I'm sure that everything is just bone dry, and it's windy today, so all the stuff got kicked into the air. All right, I'm going to try to put my purple over this, even though it's a light orange, but it should be okay. Yeah, it's all right. As long as it's a lighter color. It might end up a little muckier, we'll see. Should be okay once I highlight and shade it, though. Yeah, that looks much better. Yay, purple down there, orange up the front, perfect. Oh yeah, Benadryl doesn't really hit me, but Benadryl also doesn't tend to do much for my like allergies when it's like this. I take Zyrtec. I always am on Zyrtec, actually. Like, always. Like, my allergies are just there all the time. But normally, my Zyrtec is enough. On days like this, I sometimes have to take a second Zyrtec. All right, so now we can see our color composition coming out nicely. What we haven't figured out yet is the cape. So if we were doing this, one of the choices we can make... No, I don't react to Benadryl. Georgia O'Keeffe would be fun to do a play on. This is the wrong model for it. All right. Oh, purple sleeve. Got to do the back of the purple sleeve there. All right. So if we're alternating, then the answer is probably purple, because orange, purple, orange. Purple for the outer cape, because orange, purple, and this is only slightly impacting, and there's a gold rim. And then orange down here. So purple, purple, orange, orange. But the problem we run into then is that if the cape is purple, we run into the purple over here. But because that's an interior of a cape, we can make it a contrasting color. So we can do it in our blue-black, or we could do it in like an off-white. I would do it in either of those. I don't know that I would make the inside orange. I guess I could, but there's so little room. But orange would be an acceptable answer here. If I did it, I would probably put a thin gold border around both sides of the cloak, just to make sure that you can tell it's an interior lining. You can't suffer from allergies if you're knocked out, yeah. Hey, to be fair, they are better now than they were at the start of the stream, so I think that the stuff is probably... the wind has dropped also out there, so... So I'm just going to kind of put a thin layer of orange in there. It works, so I may keep it. But it is an opportunity to use a neutral, because you can get too loud on a mini. Like, you absolutely can get overload of colors, and I feel like we're close to that. So I don't really like the orange here. It works color compositionally, but I don't really like it. And so I'm thinking about what else I could do with it. Like, something could be the right answer, and you may still not like it, guys. And that's valid. Like, totally valid. You should always, I mean, definitely work with good color compositional rules, but then if it really just isn't resonating with you, just go elsewhere. Let's actually come back and make that an off-white. Let's make that our gray color. And I'm just going to reset it by doing that. Reset the area. Because, yeah, the orange is proper, but I don't like it. So I'm going to go away from it. I may go with... I could go with a cream here. Even though it's down near the bottom of the model. We have cream on the scroll. And then we're going to have cream on these. So having cream here is okay. It means having cream over behind these scrolls. But there is a dark shadow there. So chances are it's going to be browned out anyway. So I'm going to think about that. I'm going to think about making it an off-white. go back here. Only 4 minutes left. Bet you anything that a half hour after stream, my nose stops running. Totally going to be a thing. Well, let's get the orange on this part then. Since the orange is actually a mix. So I should get my base coat down. You can see that I thinned it a little bit too much there with that last application of water. Because I've lost a little bit of my coverage. But that's all right. That's because I let it evaporate a little bit too much before I added my brush full of water. So I didn't have as much paint to work with. Was distracted enough by my allergies that I didn't keep an eye on my puddles like I usually do. But yeah, otherwise I feel like our, it will. Yeah, I know, Pendrake. I'm there. I'm on it. Believe me, with how miserable I am right now with my allergies, I've been counting down. Much as I love spending time with y'all, I prefer to spend time with y'all when I'm not, like, just dying. I am a trooper. I'm going to clean up some of my edges here with my Nightmare Black. And then we will hand the stream over to Luca, who hopefully is not suffering from allergies. It is, to be fair, very seldom that this sort of thing gets this bad. I think it's just the weather. I can't complain about my allergies too much because, like, most of the time they are extremely manageable. All right. Yeah, let's clean up some edges. I clean up that edge. I haven't decided on, like, the scabbard over here. Pretty sure we're going to go with browns for some of this, earth colors. I'm going to go in and take the orange out with some lining here. There. Yeah, it's just evil. Evil allergies. Put in a second coat, which cleans up my brush strokes down here. When your paint is thin and you see some brush strokes, you're fine. Just put another coat over it. If your paint is thick and you see brush strokes, then you got problems, because then you're probably leaving texture. This is why I thin all my paints. There. Much nicer. More solid. Oh, great. I can blame the Sahara. I can blame an entire desert? It could be, because dust really does get me. Who knows? All I know is it's terrible. Okay, guys. Well, we're making progress on this guy. Like, remember, he was just a face and a beard when we started. So it is 11. It is alpaca time. But usually when we desperately want Luca to show up, he's late. So... How's the alpaca outlook, Quindy? He's ready? Awesome. Alrighty then. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow we're back to the kitty. Kitty! Oh, look, orange and purple. I'm on an orange and purple kick. It's official. I just realized that. Oops. But we haven't an orange cloth in forever. Like, not ever, so we'll do it. So, Kitty is tomorrow, everybody. Come back and watch us. I promise I will not be nearly this allergy-full, I hope. Fingers crossed. Fingers double-crossed. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you for hanging out with us here on Reaper Pro Tips. Enjoy your Luca. Thank you, Quindy. See y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye.